Hello, YouTube. It's your favorite mega church cult survivor, Leah Lauder, and I'm live. And I'm live on Instagram and I'm live on TikTok. Insta, you get a side view of me as I'm on YouTube and TikTok. I'm trying my best. So, welcome, Born This Way. And for those of you that don't know me, my name's Leah Lauder, and I was in a mega church cult for 18 years. I thought I was doing up church chair. Hey, Noah. I thought I was doing up church, and it turned out to be a cult. And because they took 18 years of my life, I'm now disabled because of the trauma. All falls under autoimmune diseases. I have chronic kidney disease. I have Addison's, which is it's like that produces cortisol. So because I was in a fight or flight, like survival mode for like 18 years, I was just there too long. And they had to do surgery and remove an adrenal gland. So I only have one adrenal gland. It's affected my kidneys as well. And because little things like they don't let you go to the toilet, so you'll be there for hours, like sometimes 6 hours plus, like just sitting there. You don't get air light. It's like it's really abusive. It's narcissistic gaslight. And please like the live. All church cults under Dag Heward Mills, but he's changing the name of things now, so it goes by mainly First Love. But I will be doing some updated content to show the structures and changes. But really, it doesn't even matter what church. It's about me creating awareness so that you can have the information, so that you can make informed decisions and choices, so that you can think for yourself. Because the thing is that it's very subtle tactics and they come very disguised. Oh, thanks, Nance. Nance says the black hair looks nice on me. Thank you, babe. So it's about really understanding the psychology and making sense behind the tactics that they use to gaslight, to form trauma bonds, whatever that may be. So that's really what I'm about, because I couldn't possibly list every single church cult because I don't know the hearts and minds of man. So really, it's about you getting that discernment, intuition, whatever you want to call it, knowing thyself, going within so that you're able to detect it. Because we shouldn't just be looking out for red flags when it comes to dating. We need to be looking at red flags when it comes to religious institutions, my love. Thanks for the follow. What is it? Wagrin. Because there's a lot of red flags in there. That's where a lot of the preds are, the narcissists, the PDFs. A lot of these, organizations and environments are high control, but they're also breeding grounds for preds and abusers. And this is the reason why I'm talking about modesty, because there's these washed up influencers, the 304s that made it in 2010, the ones that were sleeping with the rappers like the Sasha Releases, Breenie Lees and co, that have had this awakening apparently, where now they want to police all the women's dressing and create a branding, a fashion line or whatever out of this modesty revelation that she's had and whatnot. So I just want to talk about the fact that nuns are getting raped and essayed. Hey Jules, a lot of the women that have come forward that have been coerced to sleep with pastors, which is great, because of the positions of power, etc., and we're forced to get terminations and stuff. So when I see Sasha Elise sitting there and saying that is unalivement and things like that, it just when these girls have had so many terminations and now you've had this spiritual awakening, you feel like you need to now come and police other women. It's given he who is without sin cast the first stone. And the problem is, because these women haven't healed, they haven't put in the work, they've just gone into these hyper-religious settings that are all about the bag. So they're looking at their influence, they're looking at their bank account. Someone like Sasha, for example, who has instant influence just because of crept. Everything she is because of crept. The only reason why they're up underneath that girl's batter crease is because of the Nala's baby, is because of crept, this, that, and the third. Okay, so those type of gal, they're going to get a different treatment. I call it like the fake celebrity Christian culture that they have in these spaces. And cults love people with influence because recruitment is the bloodline of the cult. So historically, they come with this ancient authority where celebs would sit down and they would have this crossover appeal where they were celebrated in the world and celebrated in these settings, finding this newfound religion and whatever. But because the collective human consciousness has been raised, Christ first, people are seeing through the shallow, washed up 304s like the Sashas, the Breenies. So the world is like rejecting them and saying, no, sorry, you can't come and be doing up on the fence and being a lukewarm whatever. Like we see through you now. There's a lot of content creators, a lot of people are putting in the work. Hey, my love. But there's still, and that's why they're trying to have more of a narrow lens now, where they're trying to like break down the world, enforce these us versus them. They're doing this because there's a spiritual mass awakening. So what we're going to see is more hyper-religious, very internalized 304 pick-me rhetoric from the washed-up 304 influencers from 2010 that are now going to be coming and sitting on with their young DUMB naive selves. You know, like Brini was just in RPF 5 minutes ago wearing a head tie, like she's rolled out of bed, and then, you know, with dresses and skirts down to her ankles, and then now we've got her sitting there in like, you can see the confusion. Because after RPF and then she took the time out, then we see her on Instagram in her car or whatever, with very tight clothing. We could see, like I could tell from the clothing that Brini Lee's, I can tell what cup size she is. Girl, I could send you a brassiere. You know there was. Yeah. You want to talk about bikinis, but girl, with the clothing that you wear, I know your brassiere size. So what we've got is a lot of that going on. Yeah. So we've got a lot of, like, you know, people throwing stones that are living in very glass houses, very, very glass houses. And then also, because we're in the age of Aquarius and the age of truth, there's this rise to, like, humanitarian efforts, like authenticity, like this collective consciousness where you're noticing there's the narcissistic collapse, the shift of the power of government. Look at the US. They got Trump in there, but that needed to happen so that guy could be the mayor of New York, and then we've got women in the Senate, and then there's a lot of changes because it had to put in an animal like that in that position for people to wake up and see, oh, actually, you know, this is not about religion. This is about the fact that now I can't feed my kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, religion can't feed your kids, empty promises can't feed your kids, invisible blessings can't feed your kids. So we're seeing that, but we will see the pick-me's, you know, internalize the rhetoric, and they will endorse people like Kirk and the American president, and that, like, if ever there was a pick-me, they'll be that the Breenies and the Sashas, they're no different from Erica Kirk. Absolutely no different. It's just that's a pick-me. Like I think people are, like, it goes over their head. But a pick-me will literally do anything to get what they want. Do you understand? To get the positions, I'm not talking about a 304, like, in a way that is on hair, but I have to say it for lack of a better word. But I hope you're grasping what I'm talking about. And if you've been in these church cult settings, then you'll know what I mean by a 304. TikTok, if this doesn't start going up the likes, I'm going to have to go, because it protects the space, and I've got 8 accounts just to speak my truth. So I am actually on YouTube and Insta. So I'll just say to people, just come on there, because if you don't like the live, it's not protecting the space. So please like the live if what I'm saying is resonating. All right. So that's just some of my chit chat. Tonight I'm expanding on the Modesty and Power in church spaces. I've got the full live of Modesty and Power Part 1 on my YouTube and my Insta, Leah Lauder 777. So we're going to be looking at expanding on modesty and power in church spaces, not to moralize, but to name a cycle that traps women and men, because I want to do this more from, like, a genderless perspective, but looking at how it's harmful for both the masculine and the feminine. Okay, so this is about pick-me behavior, role reversals in male dominated institutions, and then we're going to look at how masculinity gets wounded and the dangerous rebound into hyper-religiosity or celebrity religion. So we're seeing this this dangerous rebound from the Sashas, from the Breenies, from all of these, you know, the Aaliyah Marias, whatever. It's a rebound into hyper-religiosity. And what you'll hear from most of these galleys, it's been after a breakup. You can see it all. These 304s, they find religion after the breakup. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then you like watch Sasha carefully. I give that girl a year. I predict a year to 17 months tops she'll be engaged, but she would have been there seeing the guy from before. That girl's probably already chatting to someone. Do you understand what I'm saying in the chat? This is all alleged. I'm not trying to, I don't know information. I'm just saying, like, we saw the same thing with Brittany Renner. You know, she made this extreme conversion to the other one, and then it was like she got Kevin Gates, and then when Kevin Gates discarded her, then all of a sudden she's back to 304. And hey, Shima, yeah, I've been on the, aren't you following me on the other accounts, babe? I go live every day, babe. All right. So we're going to be looking at the role reversals in male-dominated institutions, how masculinity gets wounded, and the dangerous rebound into hyper-religiosity or celebrity religion. We're going to look at psychology, sociology, theology, and practical tools for repair. Yeah. So I'm going to start off with the short definitions so that we have an understanding, like a foundation. And guys, look at the way that I do my lives. Look at the way I speak. Look at the way that I deliver messages. And then when you hear these gal them, think like, guys, you got to use your brain, man. You got to be very discerning. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, read in between the lines, chair. They don't know what they're talking about. So a pick-me is a person, usually a woman in this context, who seeks male validation by distinguishing herself from other women and performing loyalty, servility, and often results in policing other women to gain acceptance. So you'll see her even doing this around men. So I did some content with this very feminine guy called Andre Spence, and you'll notice that these women thrive around, there's no like in between. The men are either really feminine or they're like hyper toxic masculine wannabe alpha male type of guys, okay? Because they also need their validation in these pick-me's. Do you understand? So that their ego won't be bruised, because then there can be a narcissistic injury. I don't take live guests until you say what it is that you want to say in the live and what it is that you feel you can contribute. And then, do you attend a church? The first question is, do you attend a church? I say yes or no first, please. Internalized misogyny. When women absorb and enact sexist norms, policing themselves and others in ways that protect patriarchal power. So what would you like to come and say? Hyper-religiosity as an intensified public religiosity used as identity repair, status replacement after relational or social rupture. And I'm going to cover this later with evidence. What could you possibly contribute? Are you a survivor? If you're not a survivor, are you a doctor? Are you a psychologist? Or do you just want to come up here to hear the sound of your own voice and enforce patriarchal, misogynistic, hyper-religious rhetoric? Because if that's the case, it's not a debate. It's not we're not here for that. We're survivors. This is a safe space and we're deconstructing and deprogramming. So if you don't agree with what I'm saying, kindly leave the live and go and find another live where a pick-me will accommodate listening to the sound of your dusty mentality. All right, my love? All right, great. So I guess it's not for you, my love. And I didn't think it was. That's why, because I pick up on energy. I'm not a pick-me and I'm not religious folk. So I know about spiritual hygiene and I know how to protect myself and I know how to read energy. All right, my love? Okay, I'm not going to let you come and disrupt this. It's very important what I'm speaking about. Okay, so let's look at the high-level thesis. Many church spaces use women's labor and loyalty while simultaneously preaching a patriarchal theology that says women should be submissive. This contradiction creates role reversals and energetic imbalance. So what we see is like this really repulsive energy, like vibe that they carry, in that they're trying to do so much to validate this man, to make him look like this head, to be this Proverbs 31 woman, which they're not, because they're running the whole house. They're the main earners. They're the breadwinners. They're paying all the bills. Already the man's emasculated for their over-providing ways. Yeah. Exactly. Doms looking for subs. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about in an LGBTQ way? Have I understood it right? Women end up doing the machine work of the church, emotional labor, organization, fundraising, children's ministry, everything and anything. Mainly they're behind the scenes. And then the choristers will be like breaking them down that they're like Marthas and this and that. But if they didn't have women to be literal servants for the organization, none of it wouldn't, like, the mega church wouldn't be as big as it is now if it weren't for women. But again, they delete our history. You know, we're not spoken about. Again, it's been like the men are the front facing guys in the ministry, but it's like the women that have been laves, that they haven't got the credit. They're the machine, they're the engine behind the church clock. That's why when I came out, I said, babe, like, do you know I was in there for 18 years? Like, I was the machine behind. Are you all right? You're getting exposed, baby. You're getting exposed. Oh, like dom submissive relationships, they preach about submission to the leader. Ooh, that's a very interesting topic, man. Femme fatale, you know, could you just quickly come off and put that in a message for me? Because I'm writing a book. And that is a really, really interesting way where I'd like to explore that perversion of sexuality. Because I've noticed that their preaching's very perverse. And it does give that dom kind of, can you let me know, babe, if you can do that just quickly now? Because I think it's really interesting. And where my thinking's going with it. Yeah, it's a good angle, isn't it? Yeah, Shamar, definitely. Do you think you could do that if any of your friends leave? Did any of your friends leave the cult with you or later down the line? When you're in a cult, you don't have any friends. It's bounded choice. It's distorted reality. Nothing's real in there. Your friend is no longer the same person that they were when they walked in there. They're a clone. They can't think for themselves. They think like the cult leader. They're indoctrinated. So still having the mindset that you have friends in there will hold you back. You've got to kind of have in your mind to kind of cut everybody off, because it's like a virus. And once people are in there, you know, you can't even have a conversation with them because everything revolves around the cult. Absolutely everything revolves around the cult. So when you were in there, it was all bounded choice. Like you were talking about the cult leader. Everything was revolved around the cult. Rather, what you should focus on is building new relationships and friendships. So the answer to your question is no. Did people that I was in the cult with get out that I liked? And we've managed to build relationships off the back of the connection that we had when we were in there, but weren't allowed to explore because everything was so controlled. What I have noticed though is all the people that I vibed with and were nice people in the cult that they've left. I tell you that, and that is a phenomenon. I've noticed, go into Noah's comment on Insta, because as you know, I'm on YouTube and Insta all live at the same time. I've noticed even mainstream denominations like LDS start using their female churchgoers to try and get men into the church. Yeah, in the promo. Yeah, so am I, P, to be honest. But there are some people leaving the cult would mean a complete collapse of identity. And I'm talking about people who are phenomenons in mental institutions. When you go and visit them, they're just like this. Yeah, or they might repeat the same thing over and over again, just sitting in a chair and staring into space, rocking back and forth. That's the type of loss of identity I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like just not with us, not here. Yeah. So some people, they're going to be in there for the rest of their life, chair. All right. So the result. Okay, so women usually do the machine. The machine. Women are usually the machine of the church, doing all of the work, especially behind the scenes, while public leadership and the narrative of authority often remain male. So there's a lot of things that women have done, but it's like the men get the credit for it. And this is why we need to separate the religion and the patterns that we see throughout history and time. Again, there's been women who have done inventions, they found cures, they've done this, that, and the third, but it's been deleted, or a man's taken credit for a certain invention or whatever because of the times. Do you get what I'm saying? Because of the women's oppression. And this is why I'm getting on to the fact that when people like Breenie Lee, they don't have the knowledge, sit there and just regurgitate slurs and tones from a very internalized, misogynistic, washed up, pick me ideological perspective, it just gets me really, really riled up, because it's like all of the years of women's rights, like Breenie wouldn't even be sitting on YouTube in her skin tight dress. She wouldn't even be able to be talking about modesty online if it weren't for the suffragettes and certain women that have made risk their lives and their freedoms, and have been social justice activists and women's rights advocates, etc. And then women just want to sit there and dismantle thousands of years of women's rights and advocacy because they want to sell a Modesty luxury brand. I mean, it's absolutely pathetic, isn't it? Her dress is a copy of something. Of what, my love? Handmaid's Tale. What do you mean? That's why I think if people are engaging with their content, it's just it's not worth engaging with my content because it's not going to resonate. I'm a queen. They're pick-me's. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like 304 religious pick-me. So we're very different. So if that's going to resonate with you, I'd say just stay on that side of town. Do you know what I mean? Because this isn't going to be for you. So I'm just going to read this again. Women perform masculine roles out of necessity, and men can become socially, energetically emasculated in practice, even while doctrine claims male headship. And that's because most of the women are wearing the trousers in the marriages. When men feel emasculated, some seek external validation, leading to emotional affairs or real affairs, or just, like just having that pred behavior, like needing to be around women to validate them because they're not feeling like a man at home. It's crazy how subtle the seduction is. They'll throw words out in the middle of a preaching. Yeah. They just can't help themselves. It's because they're preds. Their mind is, it's like, it's perverse. Do you get what I'm saying? Femme fatale is perverse, so they can't help it. Another brand, her whole page is very strange. Yeah, but Curvy Vibes, do you know what it is? I'm kind of glad that she did this, because she's kind of given us like you know, like because she's internalized misogyny real bad, and it's an identity crisis, so we're seeing it like in the fashion. Because if ever a dress was made, you know, to internalize misogyny and patriarchy, that's what it would be. Actual predators. Yeah. um Like, if I was going to do something from that time, I don't even want to say what it would be, because I do have plans in the future, but it just wouldn't really be that. It would be the essence of what a woman was all about then, and that was all about self-love and luxury and adornment of self. Oh yeah, they idolize Dag real bad. Yeah, they do. That's why I said I'm always going to be a spiritual daughter of the house chair. All right, so let's look at a deep dive into structural dynamics, and please feel free to put your questions in, any thoughts that you have. This is a safe, interactive space. So let's look at what's actually happening. So let's look at the supply versus the authority split. Women supply the majority of ministry labor, emotional care, and volunteer hours. That's why the kids get neglected, and that's why we're seeing like the cycle breakers come, and they're coming on and they're saying, oh, you know, like there are children who are would rather live with strangers in a random accommodation than be at home, because their parents are so abuse, like they've never been able to feel heard or listened to or whatever. And that's the same way that women are treated in these spaces. But they often lack formal decision making power. This mismatch creates resentment, invisibility, and a paradox where women are the backbone but not the face. Role reversal by necessity. Because churches and other hierarchical organizations rely heavily on women to function, women adopt managerial provider roles, the machine. So you see them walking around like they own them place, with absolutely no authority and power in real life. It's just because they do so much. They're like the busybodies. They might not even have a title. Leaving men with performative symbolic headship, or men withdraw from relational emotional labor. That creates a lived role reversal. So the men are like babies, especially when these women like over some of them won't over provide, some of them will just over mollycoddle. Do you know what I mean? To the point where the man can't breathe. They're like they and ministry is very isolating. It's just the pastors and his members, and then his wife that he's with all the time. So that's why I think a lot of them cheat, a lot of them do you know what I mean? Because they can't leave the relationships, but they're not happy. And then the other ones will just have emotional affairs with the members, and they'll get like all of their emotional needs and validation and everything met through the young, you know, virgins that flock to thee because of the oil, the anointing. Doctrinal cover for exploitation, teachings about modesty, submission, and help me. The language is selectively applied. They are used to police women's sexuality and behavior, while excusing or hiding structural power, imbalances that privilege male leaders. So there's some church cults like Potter's House that just straight up say that women can't have any type of leadership roles. That's where Sasha Elise allegedly attends, is Potter's House church cult. The scriptural texts used to justify this are often read through a patriarchal lens that ignores historical contextual readings. So if you want to look at this further, you can see conservative and contextualist readings of First Timothy and Ephesians. Performance economy and social media. Please like up the live, guys. Celebrity pastors and church influencers lean into content that keeps them relevant and monetizable. Mega church cult pastors function as social media influencers. That platform logic encourages moralizing content and staying culturally visible, sometimes prioritizing revenue and status over pastoral accountability. That's why I'm saying, instead of Breeny like professing to be this modest Christian influencer, flying to Dubai and, you know, having lunch at this 5-star restaurant to promote her modest brand, whilst breaking down women and heckling like a witch and a 304 pick me with people like Hayley Melinda, maybe what she should be doing is advocating for the rights of you know, innocent civilians that are unalivened as a result of the UAE funding, you know, what they're doing up over there. What did that survivor say earlier? She said that this is showing, she said, the desensitization and insensitivity of the humanitarian global crisis. I was just like, wow. Big up that survivor. I can't remember her name, but she said it in the comment, and I was like, wow, I need to include that in my book. The desensitization and the insensitivity of the celebrity, the fake celebrity Christian cultured. And they, oh, okay. Oh, who Dag? They put Dag in the profile pictures. Yes, they absolutely do, because they worship him. Guys, my hay fevers. Ooh, chair. All right. Let's look at the psychology, attachment, identity, and the cheat validation cycle. Yeah, what's your thoughts, Femme Fatale? Attachment dynamics, insecure attachments. Let's look at anxious or avoidant attachments and how this fits into the psychology behind attachment identity and the cheating and validation cycle. So common in trauma or high control environments. Oh, okay, sorry. Insecure attachments are common in trauma or high control environments, which make people seek external validation or emotionally withdraw. A partner feeling emasculated or invisible may pursue external affirmation. Someone with a pick-me identity may cling harder. So this is why, like, you know, like the women, the wives and whatever, they're enablers, because they know that the husband's cheating. Like, look at that woman, that lady pastor that was ironing her husband's clothes to go and cheat with the mistress for a weekend. She said that God gave her the grace to do it. Masculinity threatened by role mismatch. Cultural scripts of masculinity often link worth to being needed, decisive, or publicly recognized. When men feel they lack those culturally valued markers in church life, e.g. social authority, being primary decision maker despite women doing the work, they may seek validation elsewhere. Emotional affairs, just straight up affairs, or performative displays of masculinity. So this is why you get, you know, like men, it's almost like laughable when they come on there and it's like the wife's wearing the trousers, she's really masculine. A good example is Anya Kapara and Cece. Like when you see them on the live, she treats him like a child, like her little boy. Like, and then you see him with this like hyper masculine, okay, yeah, we should do that. Like he doesn't know how to act. A lot of these guys, they don't really know how to act. They haven't had like father figures or like role models. So it's just what they've been taught, you know, from these malignant narcissists on what they see as masculinity. That's why they talk a certain way as well. You'll notice, I don't want to do up the accent because my voice is going, but they've got this certain accent and the way that they will preach, and you know, it's like this ancient authority, but it's almost like, it's like masculinity as well. It's like this fake, I don't even know how to explain it, guys. But the survivors, if you're a survivor, you'll know what I'm talking about, because is what I'm saying making sense, guys? They all speak the same. They've all got this, the way that they talk, like cultural scripts of masculinity, baby. So, and I'm not condoning cheating. It's just that I feel like we need to look at it from different lens, because we can't just, you know, there are enablers, and a lot of the women in these spaces are just EVIL. Do you know what I mean? So we can't discredit that some men. There's men that have reached out to me that the woman was sleeping with the pastor, and then they've matched this woman with this guy because the pastor's discarded her and made his life absolute HELR. Like, we need to look at this from many different lenses. Do you know what I mean? So that like everyone's like voice and experience can get captured. Because I don't HATE men, but I need people to understand that there are patriarchal, misogynistic systems that have held women down for years. There's nothing wrong with highlighting that. It's the patriarchs that don't want us to talk about this. They've been indoctrinating us for years. All right, let's look at the identity collapse for pick-me's. A pick-me's identity is contingent on being chosen and validated. And in the cult, in the church cult, through the rhetoric of a wife has to be found, that's what makes them a pick-me. That's why they'll be cooking the guys the dinner. Like these pick-me's, they're doing everything for the man. That's why their engagements are longed out a lot of the time with pick-me's that ain't even in the church clock, because they're going in, they're cleaning the man's yard, they're cooking food for him, they're doing everything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like before. And it's like the man is just, he don't put no respect on that. It's like pick me, pick me, pick me. Hey Kiko, pick me. So that's why I said they turned me into a pick me. Because if a woman comes in like wearing makeup, they'll be policing her. Like, why are you, you're trying to, seduce the men in the church? Hey, my love. And then if they're not dressed up, and they feel like, they'll be like, oh, don't you know that you need to be found? You need to make sure that you're presentation. So it's so contradictory in there. Like, you can't do no right, you can't do no wrong. You can never win, you can never lose. It's like, and that's why we say like nothing is ever good enough. Like, it just feels like we're constantly doing, because the malignant narcissist always changing his mind. He says one thing 1 minute and then says a completely different thing another minute, and it becomes really confusing. So the loss of that role, when the pick me breaks up with their man, or they get discarded, their identity collapses. And the quick fixes include doubling down on religiosity. So this is where we see the conversion to hyper-religiosity, taking up moral leadership, because it comes with that ancient authority. They like to have like authority and validation and things like that. So taking up moral leadership or public shaming of others is to regain status. This is social status replacement rather than healing. So these type of gal them, the washed up 304s, they don't just change like that. These type of gal them are gal them that want to be seen and want to be heard. No matter what you hear, guys, they do want to be seen and they do want to be heard, because they wouldn't be sitting there and doing what they're doing. All right. So when they lose that validation, we see this transition where they've immediately got this ancient authority, and then we see the projection. Like Breenie Lee is a very good example, because the world ain't interested in what she's got to say anymore. It's not 2010. So now she's trying to go down this, it's all projection and self-hate and resentment. I was one of the only women that said no to entering the pastor's home. Oh my God, what was the pastor doing things with the gal? Nails are fire, Leah. You're speaking facts. Oh, thanks, babe. Oh, thanks, Faith. You're such a queen. I really appreciate you guys supporting. I've always got people on, even if it's just like one person. I know that the survivors will always be there. Guys, I've got another announcement. My book will definitely be out by January the 29th. I've decided for these next 3 days, I'm really going to focus on that. So I should be getting like a final rough draft by the end of November. And then I'm going to put together like all different schemes, and the book won't be expensive, but the thing is, in this day and age, like you got like every penny. There's some women, do you know what I'm saying? Like they just can't, they can barely afford to feed their kids. So as I said, I'll have like initiatives that will be set up there, because I want to make sure that everyone gets access to the book. So I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited. Your gal is going to be vlogging over these couple of days my transition into, it looks like, author. Yeah. If anyone had told me that this would be my life like 10 years ago, I would have been like, Satan, get behind thee. How dare you say I will rise up to expose the church? And this is, do you see what I mean? If someone had said this to me 10 years ago, I would have called them the DEVIL. It would have been this, it would have been that. But this is the life that I'm living here and now. So they just got no, they're very indoctrinated in their chair. All right. So I want you to know that when you see these washed up 304s making this transition into hyper-religiosity, this is social status replacement, because they thrive off the social status. So rather than them losing their place, like in the world, for example, they go into like, because they're more accepted. They're more accepted. Yeah, I'm on YouTube, Leah Lauder 777. They're more accepted within this fake Christian celebrity dom culture, because all of those structures are coming down because of the narcissistic collapse, the age of Aquarius, the year of 9, the age of truth. So all of those systems are collapsing and falling down. And so when they go into these religious institutions, they're part of that. Thank you, P. They're part of the narcissistic collapse. So that's why they'll be running to religion. You're going to see a wave of it. It's not like 45% is increasing and people are going to hyper-religion. That's not what it is. The world is going MAD, and it's either people just lose it, and with the pick-me's, they've got empires, they've got things that they're building. So the hyper-religiosity, it fits that frame. Do Do you understand what I'm saying? That structure for them. And then that's what a man wants in these settings. They want to pick me. All they have to do is like just regurgitate, learn the scriptures, say that they're a Christian, and just, you know, because they've always been pick-me's. That's why they end up in there. That's why they say that a 304's final form is a religious woman. Do you see why it makes sense? Because a 304 is a pick-me. It's a polite way of saying, 304 is a polite way of saying a pick-me. Do you get it? All right. And these are the type of women that will build a man up. They'll do everything for the man, buy the man's affection, and then when the man discards them and leaves them because he's, you know, he's built his life off of the back of her. Why is my live video ended on YouTube, on Instagram? 1 second, guys. Hey guys, it's Leah Lord, your favorite mega church cult survivor, and I'm talking about modesty and power in the church cult. And the live just disconnected, but I'm just going on this journey of how we're seeing a rise in these washed up 304s that were like, you know, Instagram influencers or just influencers. Because you see that time where we had like the advancement of Instagram and YouTube and influencers and, you know, all of that's unalived. Like, we're in a new era now. Like, it's about authenticity, content creators who have knowledge. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like these washed up 304s, they're not going to be able to be their true selves because they don't know who they are. Do you understand what I'm saying? They don't, they're not their true. That's why that age of everything being perfect, fake, sitting in your car with not a hair out of place. We don't want that now, because that's not real life. Like, everyone's struggling, babe. Let's talk about the real struggles. Let's talk about your real fears. Let's talk about, there's no authenticity. There's no real openness. And because everyone's operating at that, in that low vibrational level of like insecurity, self-hate, haven't put in the healing work, then people will celebrate that very surface level internalized misogynistic pick me 304 rhetoric. Hey D. All right, so let's look at the sociology, organizations, gendered labor, and the political economy of the pulpit. So let's look at, so the volunteer labor is gendered. Okay, so it's mainly women that we see mainly volunteering in these. That's why you can get a man that comes in, oh my God, my hay fever, and he's not doing anything. He's not really doing the ministry. He just comes and goes to the service on Sunday and then he goes home, but he manages to get a woman that's really involved. So what he'll do is just live his ordinary life, like still go to, you know, the clubs and watch his football match and drink and whatever. And then the woman will be like, oh, she has to pray for the guy, because it's like she'll win him over by her good character. Thanks, 77. So that's why we've got a generation of women. It's like a mental health crisis, like their heads in the clouds. And there's been like, it's just been repeated cycles. It's not curses, it's just repeated cycles of, you know, epigenetics, like pick-me's. Do you get what I'm saying? Generations of 304 pick-me's, where because of toxic cultural you know, indoctrination and rhetoric, women have been taught to, you know, wear abuse as the crown and to internalize misogyny and be male-centered, and everything's about a man, male submission, you know, female oppression, the way women have to bow before the men and all of that in certain cultures. Come on, it's ridiculous. That man shows you no respect, objectifies you, treats you like a piece of meat, and you're going to come in there bowing and doing whatever because he's the chief of whatever, or he's an uncle, or he's an older. Come on, man. Come on, man. It's 2026 now. We ain't doing that anymore. All of that's unalive. That's part of the narcissistic collapse. So sociological studies show religious organizations rely heavily on unpaid volunteer labor, much of which is performed by women, yet leadership often remains male. This reproduces gender division of emotional and logistical power. And what we see, like in my cult, is a woman can't go on missions without being married, but they're sending male preds on missions that are not married, who are just going there and blowing out the backs of women who don't have, you know, the same like laws and safeguarding you know, policies and whatever to protect them. So again, it's like a woman can't get to a certain level unless she's married. At a certain point, that prophetess, that woman, that whatever, because they can be anything, like they can be an apostle these days, they could be a prophetess. And I just feel like this is not my ideological perspective. This is me being in a mega church cult for 18 years, internalizing misogyny and being a student of the fake mega church cult doctrine. It is an absolute contradiction to have women in leadership when the way that that canon has been framed is for women to not be in positions of leadership, and they'll argue against it and whatever, but it's confusing and contradictory. And no matter what position that woman is in, even if she's a preacher, she's a prophetess, she'll have to wear a hat. Like in my cult, the women wear hats when they're preaching to show that they have a covering. That's Dagwood Mills. Hey JB, that's Dagwood Mills. When I used to have my LI before First Love was even there, we used to have leadership internationals. We used to have these leadership internationals that we used to lead in universities. And when I used to go and do talks and whatever and preach, I would wear a hat like a little granny, and I would go in to show that I had authority. At one time, and my boy can vouch for me on this, we went to go and do, it was a big bit of funding with Suffolk Council. And when I went to go and do the pitch, thanks 777, I wore again my granny's hat, because to show that I was under male authority. So that is why the women wear the hats. If you ever wonder where that's why when I'm doing the Sister Watermelon and Sister Watermelon is going to make a comeback very soon. So get ready for Sister Watermelon. She's coming back. And then I'm going to introduce another auntie. I'm going to introduce a Caribbean. I don't know what I'm going to call her, but sister something. She's going to come and teach you. So I'm going to be bringing up Sister Watermelon, and I'm going to be talking, she's just going to be teaching how you internalize misogyny, and also what that hat means, because there's a lot of comedic things around this hat, but there is a reason. It's showing a spiritual, it's supposed to be symbolic and significant of this spiritual covering that women are under male leadership. Okay, so the gender inequality and the hierarchical oppression of women that we see is absolutely crazy. The Bible says to wear a head covering when a woman is praying or prophesying. Yeah, it's not mandatory, my love. No. It's everything in the canon is man-made. And actually, it seems like you've been indoctrinated with Paulism. Paul weren't around when Jesus Christ walked the earth, my love. So unless Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, said it, I don't care. All right, because what we do up here is we understand about the Nicaea Creed. All right, we understand the patriarchal and the misogynistic indoctrination and systems and structures that put together that canon. So we don't believe that it's infallible. Not everybody in here believes that it's the infallible truth, my love. Because me, with my little almost 40-year-old self, living in the UK, I found fallibilities, baby, for the years that I've been studying and the sacred. I found fallibilities. All right, my love. Anyone with half a brain will find infallibility in there. All right, sweetie. So what you're saying, it has no bearing, because then we'd have to get into Paulism. We'd have to get into why people like Mary Magdalene's gospel has not been able to be authenticated, but Paul, who came after Jesus Christ, that never met him a day in his life, we've been able to authenticate those works. We would need to actually really strip back and look at the patriarchal misogynistic foundations that they've been able to build through the biggest religion of the world, which has silenced the voices of women. So that's what we need to do up. It's not as easy as just putting a scripture there and thinking we're going to eat it up and lap it up, because we're not in the self-sealing system. This is about free thought out here in this cup. Okay, so what we're doing up is critical thought, and there's a lot of educators on here with in-depth knowledge around hidden and sacred texts. We're not just within the confines of the canon. So unfortunately, what you've said has absolutely no bearing, and I can't actually have you on here because you're disrupting the rest of the space. Thank you so much for your contribution. Have a good night, and to everybody, good night. Okay, so let's get on to the next bit. Listen, this is one of my main accounts. So I'm not doing that up with y'all tonight. I'm just going to take out my LGBTQ plus fan, and I'm just going to blow myself with the air that I need, and I'm not doing that. Oh no, your mother should your mother should bun a spliff, babe. Go and tell your mother to do that. Go and tell your mother to bun up a spliff. I don't know why people demonize demonize the leaf, because it's going to be made very legal soon. And then what are you going to be telling people, you little whore? What are you going to be telling people? That is used for medicinal purposes. And there's some people they don't bun to get HIG. There's people that use it for medicinal uses, baby. You can get it on prescription. So what are you telling me? Shut your mouth, man. You lot ain't got nothing on me, man. What are you talking about? Go and focus on the pastors that are graping the girls in there and essaying the gal them. Don't focus about people that are on medicinal if they're doing up medicinal spliff or whatever, baby. You got more to worry about. You got to think about the PDFs that you got as leaders, baby, that don't have no DBS checks, that are in there, that are getting frills out of kids just sitting on their laps. That's what you need to focus on, baby boy, instead of telling me to go and bun us. That's what you need to focus on, sweetie. Do you understand what I'm saying? You've got, there's RPF pastors that are bunning spliffs and putting hands on their girlfriend, baby boy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's what you need to focus on. There's loads of people in the church cult that are bunning it down and putting hands on women. Do you understand what I'm saying? And sleeping with people's wives and that. That's what you lot need to focus on, instead of focus what I'm doing, because I'm good outside in these streets. Go and focus on what you're doing, because you're in there with a bunch of PDFs. All right, guys, we're going to read John 16. This is the verse for today. Guys, like up the live and put your religious tones and rhetoric in the chat. So I just love Jesus. Christianity is such a beautiful religion. Oh, thank you so much, Isti. She said I'm unalive in it. She said she was in a cult. Thank you, my love. Let's look about Jesus teaches about the Holy Spirit. And this will be a good one for y'all, because you don't really get taught. You don't really hear the words of Christ. You're mainly just hearing about invisible blessings and just word vomit, really. So John 16, this is a rarity for y'all, you're welcome. 16:5 teaches about the Holy Spirit. But now I'm going away to the one who sent me, and not to one of you, and not one of you is asking where I am going. Instead, you grieve because of what I have told you. But in fact, it is best for you that I go away, because if I don't, the advocate won't come. If I don't go away, then I will send him to you. Even the he, him, he, the translations, they've translated this to be like he and Holy Spirit. And it, you know, you can see the fallibilities when you're reading it. You can see that this has been put together by a male. You can see it. The world's sin is that it refuses to believe in me. Righteousness is available because I go to the Father and you will see me no more. Judgment will come because the ruler of this world has already been judged. There is so much more I want to tell you, but you can't bear it now. You see how Jesus spoke in a very mystical way, like it's hidden, it's like in parables. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on his own, but will tell you what he has heard. He will tell you about the future. And this is the thing, yeah. You see, with these prophets, they use a lot of mystical manipulation to try and show that they've got, like, it's almost like this it's like almost like the virtues or the characteristics of Christ, but it's a counterfeit. It's similar, it's like the occult, it's dark practices that they use. The Matrix, I call them sheepa. Oh, what do you mean? Expand on that. I'm so hot. He will bring me glory by telling you whatever he receives from me. All that belongs to the Father is mine. This is why I said the Spirit will tell you whatever he receives from me. So to be honest, even as I'm reading that for me to get a proper revelation from that, I could tell you, I could say right now, like the mega church pastors do, just make up human fecal matter, like just talk about other stuff that's got no bearing to it, like just word salad. You lot would all be clapping. I could give you, you know, like they do their tone. So listen to the Holy Spirit, but don't run before you can walk. You know, like I could do all of that. But the truth is, just in this little small bit, this is why I don't understand why they've got so many books and they're talking about so much, because just from this whole paragraph, I would have to meditate on this word for 3 days and 3 nights. I would have to really seek into the scriptures. I would have to pray and be in stillness to really get a revelation of the fullness of what Christ is talking about in that scripture. It's not a case of just, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, and that's what they do. A lot of it is word salad. A lot of it is not true. Yeah. They're just saying, it's just a bunch of words. Because Christ spoken, it's like a code. But I just needed to do that, guys, because as you know, once you've got the Bible out, you know, you can just say anything really, but they're the victims. All right. So let's look at so leadership often remains male. This reproduces gender division of emotional and logistical power. So power laundering via piety. So religious rhetoric can legitimize hierarchical structures. Modesty talk and virtue signaling becomes tools to discipline bodies and behavior. So when we look at the Stephen Hassan Bite model, we can see that the malignant narcissist exerts control over 4 areas: behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. Okay, so one of the ways that they enforce policing women's clothes, and then that leads into how they act, expectations, unrealistic expectations. Do you see where the submission comes into it, the obedience, the ABUSE? because it's wrapped and covered in the modesty. So if you ever hear a woman within Christendom now that's coming out with this modesty rhetoric, it's anti-female, it's anti-woman, it's anti-everything, it's anti for us. It is not a good move, guys. You need to stop following these people, man. Seriously, because it's not, it's this rhetoric is so outdated. It's backwards thinking. It takes us back thousands of years. And I'm going to go through the history of the fight, like what we had to fight for as women to get to now. Do you see that these women are bereft? They're so DUMB. They wouldn't be able to sit down and be saying, even talking about modesty on a platform without the women that have come to advocate all of the rights that we have. They wouldn't be able to sit there. They wouldn't even be able to have a bank account or own a property in their name. They would have had to have had a man. They wouldn't even have a voice. This is what they're not understanding. This is why it's human fecal matter. And this is why when you see these 304s make this transition into hyper-religiosity, guys, they've already rinsed themselves and hoard themselves out for the world. Now when they're washed up and it's done out, now they want to come to, because they know everyone's going to lap it up. Do you understand? Like, no one's healed in their chair. All right, so let's look at power. Okay, we've done that. Okay, so modesty talk and virtual signaling become tools to discipline bodies and behavior. It diverts attention from structural questions: who controls resources and who benefits. This is power laundering. Moral rhetoric used to hide power imbalances. So it's like a woman will do everything, yeah, in a church cult, but because they've indoctrinated her, where it's like a woman cannot have any type of leadership role or whatever. She's just given all her time, her pension, everything's in the cult, but she will never get any type of recognition. It will be the man that's been transferred from Portugal. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, do you get what I mean? There's women that have been in there that are more knowledgeable than the men, but the men are put in these positions, given the titles and whatever, and the women run the show. They put in all the work, they build all the relationships with the people, they do all it. Do you know what I mean? They clean up the mess, they enable the preds, they cover up grape and essay for the institutions. Thanks for the follow. I am brand ambassador. All right, influencers and monetization. Pastors and church celebrities operate in a media marketplace. Stay invisible equals donations, book sales, courses, etc. The crossover from pastor to influencer preserves income and relevance, sometimes at the cost of nuance or accountability, and it rewards sensational or moralizing content. So again, in a lot of these spaces, we see the us versus them, the isolation. So you can see the indoctrination through what they say. Remember, I said it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out. So if a man hasn't put in that healing work, the Lord judges the heart. And that's why modesty is a state of the heart. It's not what you wear. They could argue that as a result of your heart, then you will dress accordingly. But that's not as a state of the heart. That's as a state of patriarchal and misogynistic indoctrination, which you've internalized to keep the power imbalance and the patriarchal systems and structures. But they don't have that knowledge. And for lack of knowledge, our people perish. And as long as they're talking about it, I'm going to be talking about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we need, and thankfully, we've had a lot of content creators that have risen up on YouTube, especially. There's a lot of female empowerment, a lot of rhetoric around just women and female empowerment. So it's kind of washed out the pick-me's. So there's been a lot more people like myself. I won't really go on YouTube to watch these kind of women and whatever. So where these like washed up 304s that were relevant in the 2010s or whatever on YouTube, now it's like YouTube has changed. So there's the humanitarians on there. There's people talk about humanitarian crisis. And also because we're in the age of truth, we're actually holding these so-called celebrities accountable. Like, why won't you mention Palestine? Why won't you mention Sudan? Why won't you mention Congo? Why won't you talk about the thing? It's like they're getting called out for being sellouts when they avoid certain questions. So people are waking up. Theology and hermeneutics. Do you know what, guys? I don't know how much we're going to get through this. I'm going to see how I feel. But my hay fever always starts to play up around this time. So theology and hermeneutics, scripture, modesty, and contradiction. I don't even have a antihistamine here. Ciao. Does anyone get really bad hay fever in the evening? All right. Scripture is read through lenses, verses about headship, submission, and modesty. So Ephesians and 1 Timothy and Genesis have been historically and culturally interpreted in ways that can either protect or oppress. Contextual readings and scholarly, oh gosh, I don't even know what that word is, often differ sharply from literalist patriarchal readings. All right, so again, we do see that clear divide. Do you get what I'm saying? When we see it from that kind of like patriarchal theological perspective, and then when we see it in like, you know, patriarchal literary readings, where there's more of, you know, you might get more of that feminist or intersectional feminist lens, where you know, women are really breaking down the systemic injustices and how that affects us at an intersectional level. What do I mean by that? So intersectional feminism allows us to look at how women are discriminated and oppressed against at many different intersectional levels. So a woman, you know, we're going to face oppression and you know, discrimination, whatever, because we are the, you know, unequal gender, and that's why we fought for thousands of years, you know, around our rights and whatever. And these women can internalize misogyny as much as you want, but no matter what comes out of your mouth, even a peep, you wouldn't be able to be making the money. You wouldn't be able to be flying on no airplane with no passport. You wouldn't be able to rent or live in the yard that you live in. You wouldn't be able to be taking your tight dresses with your hyper-religious, holier than thou, sanctimonious stuff to be sitting down and talking about anything and a word and a day and a how. If it weren't for the suffragettes, do we know what they believed in, sweetie? If it weren't for the women them throwing themselves upon horse, we wouldn't be having no right to go and vote, nothing, albeit we'd have to have a husband to be doing anything and a word. You wouldn't have been able to read any book, B, to sit down and be talking, because you wouldn't have known how to read. All right, sweetie. Okay. All right. So we've come a very long way. So I don't want to hear a peep from these washed up 304s that have no knowledge about the historical contextualization of historical women's rights to be coming and doing up and sitting down and doing modesty. Before you start doing up modesty, baby girl, why don't you go and look at the historical context? Because you won't be able to be sitting on no social media to be chatting nothing. It would just be a male dominated world. It would just be men sitting on here talking about their expectations of a woman, what they feel a woman should, and cooking and cleaning. So please, girl. Maybe now that you've been washed up from the world and done everything and anything, and now you want to be stay-at-home wifey, well, that's fine, baby girl. But there's other girls who haven't had their chance to do up what you were doing up. And another thing I want to say is, people are saying, like Breemy saying that she was born again in 2007. No, you wasn't, baby girl, because we saw you on YouTube talking about schmegs, talking about wearing tight dresses, baby girl. When you were doing up YouTube, baby girl, I was in outreach in the snow, sleet, and sun. I did 18 years in that cult. So what I want to say to you, baby girl, is according to the word of God, according to any mega church cult pastor anywhere, any day, you're in a cult. You're in a cult. That's what you're in. Because any self-respecting church who follows the complete Bible to the T will tell you, sweetie pie, that you were backslidden. You went back to your vomit like dogs. That's what you did, baby. That's the backsliding doctrine. I know it in and out. So you were backslidden for about 10 years, baby girl, however long it was. So if we look at 2007, you were still doing up your YouTube stuff well into 2017, girl. You were still out here 304 in. So I don't think that this is reflective of the Bible. I'm not here to be doing up that I'm doing up this modest or this Christianity, because that's not, Christ didn't even come to give a religion. So what y'all are doing over there is man-made, it's patriarchal, it's misogynistic, and it's oppressive and suppressive to women. Yeah, I follow Jesus Christ. I just follow the way, because Jesus was into intersectional feminism. Jesus was a humanitarian. Jesus chose a woman to be an apostle to the apostles, but you lot try to destroy and hide the works of these women. All right, so that's what I'm doing up. All right, so you and me, we're not cut from the same cloth. But if we're going to go according to the Bible, baby, you were not saved in 2007. All right. And there's no such thing as rededicating your life. And then they're going to tell us, oh, you were on this journey and this, that, and the third. Please. You may have given your life in 2007. And if you gave your life and you were saved and it was in one of these Pentecostal church cults, then we're going to have to argue, did you even give your life? Because the sinner's prayer is, we can't find it in the Bible. It says, yes, confess with your heart and say with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Duh. We know that. But what we need to focus on, my child, is the fact that it's not that Jesus Christ never gave us a sinner's prayer to recite. And you can't find not one scripture of Jesus Christ saying, or leading people to himself through it just doesn't make any sense. He just didn't endorse it. Again, they've had to package religion in like a McDonald's meal, so you know what you're buying. There's a system. You get up, you give your life, you get saved, you go into a ministry, you do new believers school. It's a business. It's a business. They've structured it into a pyramid scheme. So when you want to, you gal them, that's endorsing the modesty and doing up. Please do your homework, because you lot have been in church cults your whole life. You 304'd yourself out. Whilst I was doing the ministry, 18 years, there's absolutely, you can talk about, I can wear a bikini if I want to for the next 20 years of my life, baby girl. Because for 18 years, I was doing up strict modesty, looking like this, married for almost 10 years, weren't getting my back blown out for almost a decade. Oh, please. Oh, please. Oh, please. If we just go, like, and again, this is where the gender hierarchy comes into it, baby girl, because you can't have a double standard. You can't be having a fiance that you're sleeping with and then be coming on and talking about modesty. Or no matter what it is that you're doing, lustful thoughts. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you're there with your fiance and you're staying in a hotel together, you might not be doing nothing together, but you're looking at each other in a lustful way. You're getting certain feelings. You're not supposed to be putting yourself. So these gal them are coming and talking about modesty. Baby girl, if you were modest, you wouldn't be going to no Portugal with your fiance, to be going and staying in hotels and putting yourself in compromising positions where you might have got your back blown out. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's about be modest is about understanding that if you go somewhere and you're wearing your so-called tight, because you might think that that's modest clothing, but it's not, baby, because we can see every curve, we can see your cup size from everything. So you're sitting there and you want to talk about a modest fashion brand, this, that, and the third, but your behavior is not giving modesty. They don't know what they're talking about, man. And it's so obvious in 2026. All right. I've gone on off topic. So the contradiction, women forbidden in authority versus women doing the work. So what I'm going to look at here is I'm going to point to the contradiction that women should be submissive while expecting them to run the organization behind the scenes. So in 1 minute, they're telling us to be submissive, to talk when spoken to have this meek spirit, this and that, this, that, and the third. But when they see the pretty girls, men are following her to the church cult and whatever, they start giving her leadership positions. They start raising her up. That's why they like influence. That's why the Sasha Elises and the Breenies, we can never listen to what they're saying, because they're always going to have this celebrity, Christian, this fake celebrity Christian experience, because the pastors know when they're coming in, this is not like a normal person. They could finish us. She's got this following. They're going to be watching their P's and Q's with her. A gal like that, even her experience within RPF, they wouldn't have brought her that close. So in her psyche, she's not thinking that RPF's the same, because she's not getting her hands put on. Do you understand? By the pred in the church cult, she's not getting essayed and getting her and getting forced and getting the preds aren't targeting Breenie. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like she's gonna have the best experience in there. She's gonna have the best of it. Everyone's gonna be love bombing her. Everyone. Do you understand what I'm telling you? The only reason why these 304s will leave these kind of church cults like RPF is they don't feel like they're growing enough. They might feel like it's a bit too demanding. It would have to get to the point where it's really, because for them to open their eyes, it would have to be like I've heard that Pastor Austin allegedly has been saying things like, if you speak against the church, you're unalive. But these 304s, when they're in these settings, if they're not getting what they want out of it, they will just leave. So they'll take the man and leave, or they'll take because that's all they are. They're not in there for God. So we've got this contradiction that women should be submissive while expecting them to run the whole organization behind the scenes. That's theological inconsistency, and it's used opportunistically. Opportunistically. Yeah. So now we're going to look at spirituality of wholeness. So we're going to be looking at alternative theological framing. So relational wholeness, or the imago Dei, which is the image of God approach. Both men and women are bearers of God's image and called to mutuality, not domination. This reframes modesty as dignity, not policing. So again, it's about building people up through modesty, which is a state of the heart. It is not about through like policing women's clothes, because as I said to you, it doesn't make any sense, because there's nuns campaigning. I heard about these nuns that were taking this, I've forgotten what it is, like the cathedral, whatever, that institution to court, yeah, because the priest had just, oh my gosh, it was, the guys, the ABUSE is just absolutely awful. And when I went to go and look up the story, I just put nuns that had been, you know, where they had eaten out of the Great Bowl. And it was like, there's too many articles, I need to be specific. Like, it's an epidemic. These women are getting preyed on. Do you know? Because remember I said to you, the modesty culture is great culture, the modesty and purity culture. Because a lot of these women are naive. They're not seeing these men like the malignant narcissists, like the preds. They can't see through them. Do you understand? It's this internalized misogyny. Some of them have been born really holy. They're virgins, gone into the convent. Do you understand? And these men have taken advantage. So for me personally, I always say the only reason why these mandem never put their hands on me or even try to grape or assay me, because I'm going to keep it real. When I was in that church cult, if any pastor tried to put his hand on my knee, my instant reaction would be bam in the face, or it'd be bam. Do you understand what I'm saying? Instant reaction, fight or flight. I'm ready to get them. You understand? I'm ready to get them hands up, because in my past, that's what I had to do to survive. I had to be this way to survive. I'm a beautiful girl in the hood. It's either I was a 304 or I had to be tough. I had to be strong. Do you get what I'm saying? And then I just had to find the baddest of the baddest to just be wifeyed off so that no one could touch me, because pretty girls get taken advantage of. It's like the man them feel entitled. It's sad, man. If you're not ready to, like in the hood, if you're a pretty girl and you're not ready to like take the backhand, and you're not ready to, because you won't lie down, you're just going to be a 304. And I feel sorry for a lot of gal, because like, you know, that's just how it is. But I was built different, innit? So the man them, they could feel that energy. Even when I was severely indoctrinated, I'm still putting hands on you, because I would be prepared to put hands on someone for my partner. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that was like the indoctrination from the streets. So like I already had like that loyalty programming, like seeing coercive control as love, because the men were very controlling, you know, like mashing up my phones, buying me a new one, mashing up my phone, buying me, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that control. You're not allowed to go here, you can't go there. And then it was like the control through the postcode thing, because it was like, oh, I'm trying to look out for you, did it? But it was really because this guy didn't want me to go anywhere. He didn't want me to leave the ends. Because in the end, he's got control. He knows what I'm doing. Things will get back to him. He will be able to monitor where I am, surveil, you know, because it wasn't like how it is back in the day where you can have your location. And it's just like, you know, you're about, like, where are you? Like, you're on this road. All right, I'm going to send like some man them to be posted there. Then all of a sudden, no matter where I am, all of a sudden I'm seeing bikes. There's like 50 man on bikes, like riding. Do you get what I'm saying? Like now all of a sudden we're all here. We're all on the strip. Why? Because someone snitched and said, oh, Kloss, your girl is like just about like just walking in these streets. Because I'm not allowed to be just walking on Main Grove. I need to be indoors. Are you all right? I'm gonna go where I want. So this is where you see that toxic mix of like a bad gal being with a bad man. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's toxic. Do you know what I mean? And then when they're sleeping with gal, the bad gal ain't gonna have that. She's gonna be fighting over some D. Do you know what I'm saying? And it gets all techie. But I already came from that kind of way of life. So when I came into this, it was really easy for them to just do up the same coercive control. Example, my pastor confiscated my phone for 3 days. When I backslid for a little while, and then I was with this like hood clean thing from Stonebridge. Sorry. And sorry, I just got a flashback then, because you know I'm celibate. Sorry. Ciao. He knew how to get down though in the bedroom area. I'm not gonna lie. That's the thing. And I couldn't even enjoy it, man. You know, because I just had the programming, like every time, like, you know, like we watched a little, you know what, like popcorn or whatever, I'm feeling sin, you know, I'm crying after, I'm getting my back blown out, and I'm crying after. I'm saying to this ninja, like, I don't want him to touch me. Like, I'm praying, you know, I'm praying afterwards. I'm trying to get this guy to like pray for forgiveness. And I've heard that with survivors, like when they've been like sleeping with guys like who are in religious psychosis, and then after like they've slept together, the guy's like saying, now we need to like pray for repentance, and he gets out his Bible and he starts reading scriptures. That's insane, isn't it? But that's like when you're in religious psychosis, there's a lot of fear-based programming around like fornication. So the issue is when you're deep into it, and it's like, you know, you think, oh, you're going to HEOL, fornication, then it's a high control environment. You haven't clocked it's a high control environment. So you're just trying to escape and get out now. So when you get out now, you might go back to your ex or start sleeping with a guy because you go back to what you were used to, innit? Because you don't have, it's like you've been cut off from the outside world. But the way they indoctrinate you is like you've backslidden, you're like a dog returning to the vomit. It's a lot of psychology, so you don't see it. It takes you a hot minute to like clock it. It's mad. It's mad. I'm just glad I'm just the hell out of there, because now what we're seeing, guys, it's not an advancement in Christianity. It happens like every 10 years. So, you know, there's like that lost generation of women who are now going to be getting discarded, the pick-me's, from these long-term relationships that they had. They might have been with these guys for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, had 3 kids, 15 years. The type of galdom that's been with this guy from 18, 20, whatever. And then the guy now discards them. This is what we're going to see now. We're seeing a trend of the pick-me's that are getting like having these like hyper-religious epiphanies, and they're going into. But for the people like us, the survivors who have been in these cults, and we know it's not the answer, we've had to like search deeper. That's why, you know, Christ says, "Deep calleth unto deep." We've had to dig deeper to really unpack what's going on here, and that's why the veil has become so thin for us, and we've been able to see through the BS, the hyper-religiosity. But for the people, unfortunately, who haven't tried out hyper-religiosity, unfortunately, they're just going to be in this church cult cycle hopping, where they're going to come out of the heartbreak, the pick-me's, and then they're going to resonate with the hyper-religiosity because they're not ready to look in the mirror and say, I'm a pick-me, I don't love myself, I need to go back to childhood trauma, I need to unpack this, and that they just rather go to church on Sunday and just internalize misogyny, because that will give them validation through their pick-meism, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. But this is what we're seeing now. We're going to be seeing a trend of, you know, women in their late 20s to early 30, moving into, like, I would say late 20s. I want to say late 20s, early 30s to like the millennials, like the late 30s. We're gonna start seeing a like a, I don't know, just these pick-me's are going to end up in their chair. So let's look at why pick-me behavior becomes weaponized modesty. Have I done this bit? Okay. Oh no, I haven't. Okay. Oh no, I've skipped it, chair. 1 second, guys. Gendered. Wait, hold on, guys. Oh my god, I don't know where I am. What part did I come off? Oh yeah, I was here. All right. So now we're going to get into the metaphysics and energy language. So we're going to be looking at the masculine and the feminine, but in spiritual terms. A lot of the time it's used for dating, but I'm going to look at this in terms of, like, you know, like spiritual terms and how it works within the church cult setting. So masculine and feminine are complementary energies. They're not strict. So they're not strict gender roles. Again, they've made these things man-made. Okay, it's energy, masculine and feminine energy. That's why you can get a man who's more in his feminine energy and a woman's more in her masculine energy, like Hayley Melinda and her husband Sterling. Okay, so we've got the yin and yang, which is active and it's receptive, and that's where we see the equal balance, where there are healthy people can contain both capacities. So agency plus receptivity, boundary plus softness. So what that allows us to do is have, when we have that balance, is it allows us to have healthy relationships which encourage each person's capacity for both, to be in both their masculine and feminine energy and be able to hold that space. Like a man needs to be able to feel safe and be able to cry, be able to be vulnerable, and then we need to be able to hold that space for them equally. So again, it's that masculine and feminine energy. The man needs to be able to have that feminine energy and having the capacity and the emotional intelligence to be secure in their masculinity, so that they can hold the space for you and they can feel safe. But that also comes from, you know, healing mother wounds, and that is how they heal that feminine energy. Otherwise it's going to come out as projection, complete shutdown, emotional blockage. They won't be able to be there and show up for you, and this is usually what happens when the women get into marriage, because like the Breedys or whatever, just wait, let's just sit here. When they start getting married and having the kids or whatever, and the man is not a leader and he can't show up for himself, let alone the child, and then it's like they're left holding the baby, and it just, you know, that's when reality hits them. So there's a lot of people who are chatting, but they're just young. They're just young little girls who haven't experienced life. And that kind of like influencer celebrity world is very narcissistic, is very egotistical, is very shallow, that, you know, the girls are extremely insecure, and that's why they've used their body for like validation, because it's like that validation and that projection. A lot of them haven't loved themselves, or they haven't been loved by parents, and then they've sought this like validation through just being pretty, the pretty privilege. I mean, pretty privilege will always be there, because, you know, we've come from, you know, when you look at Egypt, and you look at, you know, the marvels of the world, how they would worship women and marvel at us, you know, like worship fertility and things like that. So they will never be able to cancel out, you know, the divinity of who a woman is, but we'll never just have that same. This is what we're kind of working for. Oh, hey, thank you, Noah. That's what we're kind of working towards. Do you see what I mean? Is us reclaiming our power. And that's why you see that we're moving from patriarchy into matriarchy. Yeah, where there's more equilibrium around, you know, women getting more high powered roles, and in more high powered career positions. And to be honest, women don't really need men anymore. And so that's why at the moment it should be a luxury to have a woman. And that's what we need to do. We need to bring back that having a woman is expensive. You do need to appreciate us. Do you know what I mean? You can't just treat us anyhow and discard us and think that loads of women are going to be out there. And that's why it's important for women to respect and love themselves, because and that's why it's upsetting when we see these 304s and these pick-me's. We're like, oh, don't you have any respect for yourself? You know, like, we need to stand together as women and all be on the same page. But unfortunately, guys, there is always going to be desperate females out there, you know, just thirsty for male validation, that aren't willing to put in the work. So that cycle will continue, unfortunately, but we do just need to get more equilibrium. And I'm so glad with the advancement of, you know, technology and, you know, apps like TikTok. You know, I'm really glad that you know, you know, more content creators like myself can come on here and speak their truth and raise the collective consciousness of mankind. So it's an absolute honor. Hey Lola G, how are you, babe? Someone's asked me what's my opinion on Islam. My opinion is that all of the Abrahamic religion, it's all the same, babe. Okay, it's all the same. Patriarchy with the Messiah, it's all the same. The only reason why I don't talk about that faith is because I weren't born into it. I don't have knowledge of the, what is it, surahs. I don't know anything about it. Like, when it comes to the Bible, you want to go like scripture for scripture, back and forth. Like, there's nothing I don't know in there, innit? Like, I can't quote it like bar for bar, but I could paraphrase everything in here from like Genesis to Revelation. And I'm now on the Apocrypha. So I'm going into, it's a deeper dive of like some of the silenced voices. And then I've gone into the Gnostic texts. Do you see what I mean? And then I've gone into like just looking at, and then I've done this kind of like systematic review in my head, if you like, where I've kind of searched amongst, not all of them, but I've searched amongst different hidden sacred texts, and looked at the truths that align, that you can find in Buddhism, that you can find in Hinduism, that you can find in Sikhism, that you can find in Christianity, that you can find in Islam, that you can find, you know, and then what I've done is I've looked at how those truths align with universal laws, because the conclusion that I have come to, let's just scrap all these Abrahamic religions for a minute, because they've just caused too much chaos in the world. Let's just focus on the universal laws. Let's strip it all back. So I say there's the laws of the universe, which are activated no matter what. Like, you reap what you sow. That's the whole ideology of, you know, like the law of attraction, etc. But there's also, you know, how do you get those things? So when you bypass certain laws and you break certain, I call them like, there's like these spiritual laws, the spiritual universal laws, then you'll get your karma. But because everything's, you know, goes by ages, and, you know, the numerology, the year of 9 and the different years that we have, and because they don't want us to understand that, so they demonize it, so that people will be lost and won't find who they are. And the elites, the people in these positions in high places. That's why for me, I can like never let go of the Bible. That I can never let go of it, but I don't look at it or interpret it in the same way. I look at it more as like, you know, this very magical book that has a lot of hidden secrets in there. And you know, I've got to unlock it, and I've got to go within, and I've got to spend a lot of time in stillness and going within to unlock the hidden secrets. Because, you know, like, even there's just certain scriptures like, you know, don't pass your pearls amongst swine. I mean, how true is that? That's why I just BLOCK them when they come on here, because I'm not going to cast my pearls amongst swine. Why? This takes energy to speak. If I've even got one survivor on here who's willing to listen, that's enough for me. But we don't want the infiltration of the wreakage of imposter hyper-religiosity. We just don't want it. It's really low vibrational, and it's like that designer imposter perfume that just reeks. Yeah, it's overpowering. We can't breathe. We feel like things are in our mouth. It's repulsive. All right. So so that's my take on it. All right. If I was born into that religion, I'd be doing exactly the same thing, guys, because I'm willing to unalive for it. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's when you achieve like that Christos, like that Christ consciousness, when no greater love than this, than a man lay down his life for his friend. When you're willing to lay down your life for others in whatever that looks like, then you've achieved that Christ consciousness. You're at that, and that is the level that we're all trying to attain and get to, that evolution. Thank you, DJ. They can talk all they want, and I don't care. It's a state of the heart. God searches the state of the heart. You know, God searches the mind and the heart. They can say whatever. This is a human fecal matter, man. I trust in God. I trust in God. I trust in God. I trust in the laws of the universe. It's like, you know, relativity. It's like gravity. You know, there is a spirit of karma right now, where people are receiving their karma. Like all of these posters and mugs, they thought they were getting away with it. You can't mock God, baby. You can't mock God. And when God does something, he does it like so eloquently. Like it's just, you know, it just blows your mind. Like you'd never imagine, like, because you can't mock God. What you lot, even before you were born, God knew this was going to happen. Hey, Zaina, do you know what I mean? So I was planted in there. Everything I've been through, me coming from the streets, guys, my boyfriend being unalived by the police, like all of the stuff I've been through, like it's just like my mindset, like I'm so desensitized to violence and just, you know, like just stuff. Like I don't have any fear. Like my faith in God, it really does come through what I've survived. It's my resilience. It's what I've survived. It's like, how am I still surviving? Like, how have I still got my like, how am I still sane? Like, how am I still able to like think, how have I not just been destroyed? Like, how have I not, you know, to me, that's a miracle. Like, I'm a miracle. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I am a miracle to myself. And that's why I'm kind of myself. Like, guys, if you saw my yard at the moment, the kitchen, everything, it needs to be cleaned, yeah. But I've just taken the pressure off myself and just said, like, Leah, it's been a lot. You just need to calm down and just, you know, just be a bit more kinder to myself. Like everything doesn't always have to be perfect all the time. Yeah, I've let things go a bit, but I'll get back on top of it, man. I'm not going to beat myself down for it. So, okay. So energetic imbalance looks like over masculinized women like Hayley Melinda, taking all agentive labor. So that's where the pick me will over provide, because the pick me is in her masculine energy. So you will notice with a pick me that she will pride off all of her achievements, her accolades, what she's got, her business, because that's like these type of gal them. That's why them relationships never work. Like the men with money, especially, like, because a man can have money and be dusty. So he'll go with the pick me, like, oh, we're building this empire. And then they just realize they're both narcissists. They're both selfish. The girl, one of them will end up cheating or doing something. And then they'll be divorced. Like I give them 7 to 10 years max. I give all of these guys 7 to 10 years max. And I'll still be here covering it, baby. So it looks like, so the energetic imbalance, you know, where God talks about an unjust imbalance is an abomination. This is what, because remember, God is not talking about physical things. Like all of the things that were created, they're all man-made. So it's about, that's why I said to you, there's the universal laws and then there's religion. But because the malignant narcissists, they're EVIL, and they use a lot of like occultic practices, like reverse psychology, like dark psychology, to manipulate and gaslight the people. They keep all of this knowledge for themselves, and then they feed us what they want to feed us through information control. And then they demonize knowledge. They indoctrinate us through a fear-based programming to be like, if you go too much outside of what the cult leader's saying, you'll lose Christ, you'll lose your faith, it will confuse you, this, that, and the third. So it's all fear. But that's why you need to know your word, because we know fear is not from God. And everyone's got a different journey and path. So people need to be left to, you know, explore. Like kids, they need to be left to go through their own experiences, etc. Emotionally absent men will withdraw or overperform of their gender role. So you see them like really puffed up, like the hyper masculinity. Thanks for the follow, babe. Their hyper masculinity, because the wife wears the trousers and the pants, the wife's the manager, she does everything, pays the bill, whatever. So when they come in on Sunday, it's like this is their chance to get this validation, this is their chance to get their ego stroked. And this is why sometimes the pastor or the mog will just come and just lay into you, like it's just because you've caused them a narcissistic injury. Their ego's been bruised. They don't want to hear your questions, they don't want to hear your contribution. They want to sit down and they want you to listen to them, because their wife is always dictating to them and making them feel like a little man, a little boy. So when they come in, this is their chance for them to get that supply. And that's why it leads into like them, taking advantage of the women, having emotional affairs, because they're just not getting their needs met by their wives, not emotionally, not intellectually, not physically, not anything clear. So they'd rather sit down and listen to the beautiful, zealous young woman that's just come into the church cult. It keeps them alive. The girl that's completely obsessed. Can you imagine? You're like this washed up pastor, and then you've got this young woman coming in. She's like totally obsessed with you, besotted, totally in love. Is looking at you like, oh my God, the mog, you saved my life. Could you imagine being a pastor, just sitting there listening to this beautiful woman, absolutely worshipping you and idolizing you? That is enough of a supply. That man doesn't even need to get touched. You know what that could do for a man's ego? But you don't realize it when you're in there. And that's why it's so important about women deconstructing around your divinity as a feminine, and also just looking at the hidden texts like Mary Magdalene, so that we can be really secure in our femininity. And that's why they HATE women like me, remember? Because you see, like gal like Hayley Melinda, for example, let's say I didn't know her yet, but I've been invited by, let's say, a guy that's there who's rich, like a CEO or something, and I've just come in my tight cocktail dress and I'm just there. Do you see how me and Hayley can be sitting around the same table because purely because I'm pretty? I'm a pretty girl, but she's had to work her whole life, like work her ass off to be around those tables and to be in those situations. And that is why there'll always be that projection and that internalized HATE. No matter how happy they try and look and smile, there'll always be that internalized HATE towards the beautiful woman. Because the beautiful woman is always going to have a place in society, no matter if they create robots tomorrow, whatever. That beautiful woman, like that Marilyn Monroe, that pin-up, that beautiful, is to be adored. That's why we've got Miss Universe. It's a celebration of the divine feminine. We're goddesses. We're beautiful. We're a marvel. So we will always be celebrated. There will always be like, that's why them gal there, even with I say, oh, there's authenticity, but girls are always going to get paid for being beautiful, for just existing and being beautiful. If they can market themselves right, and they get their branding right, and their whatever, then they'll always, the beautiful woman will always be adored. No one will ever pass a picture of a beautiful woman and not like it. Okay. But they will pass a picture of a handsome man and maybe not like it, thinking, is he a bit of a narcissist or whatever? So again, there's just this power that we have through femininity, and that is why they want to break us down and they want to silence us, and they don't want us to have a voice, because the power that we have. Okay, so they indoctrinate us and they control and manipulate that feminine energy, and they say, they demonize like intuition, women using free thought, etc., so that they keep us enslaved with the patriarchal misogynistic doctrine that keeps us in, that makes us invisible, strips us of all our rights, and makes us a second-class citizen in these spaces. So we're absolutely oppressed. We're stripped of all like women. It's like what it is the only way I can describe it when you're in these church cults is, it's like being in the biblical days. So women are seen as lesser than cattle. We don't have rights. We don't have a voice. The husband is our spokesperson. If, a man has an issue or there's an issue in the church, that they will go to the husband before they go to the wife. There's that gender hierarchy, inequality, and it's really, really toxic and rife in there. Spiritual harm of imbalance. When identity is reduced to a role, performing modesty to earn worth or brownie points or to be seen, or if a man to pick her, because she will demonize the woman who's wearing the short skirt and whatever. But this is why these women end up getting married to the preds and living a life of HEOL, where the man doesn't really LOVE them or attracted to them or anything, and then they're just with the man and they're just, it's just a life of HEOL. Spirituality becomes transactional and idolatrous. So they start to idolize the modesty because it gives them spiritual status. And then what they do is they couple that with the ancient authority that comes with the canon. So it's like, I'm up here, you're down here. It's like, I'm all modest now. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm all modest. I've had this turnaround. I've got this. It's a new leaf, and I was wearing my bikini 5 minutes ago and shaking that ass. Watch yourself. And now all of a sudden, I'm gonna come and dictate and tell all these naughty girls that aren't living modestly that you can't wear a bikini. It's a joke. But again, guys, what this is highlighting is it's highlighting the MESS, that is these religious spaces, places of worship, okay? Because it's like anyone could just wake up one day, I'm born again, and then they can just sit online and start, breaking down other women, because they have this influence and they have this platform. And that's why I'm really glad that, God has built this movement to what it is today, because I'm glad that I've got the influence that I have as a micro influencer to just cancel it out, And I will be educating. Sister Watermelon's going to be coming back, chair. You lot might even get, you lot are going to probably get a live with Sister Watermelon this week. I'll do a live with Sister Watermelon and a Q&A. And if you don't know who Sister Watermelon is, go and check on my page if you're interested, until you see me wearing a big U chat. And she'll be back this week, and I'm going to be introducing some new characters in this whole exploration of internalized misogyny, just to show how DUMB they are. I'm also going to be doing the washed up 304 influencer, and that one's going to be funny. Because you lot are going to see me, like how they do their vlogs, like going to M&S. It's going to be like satire. Like how they do these like satire stitches of like, like Nara. I just produced this baby after 5 minutes, and this is my perfect life that I'm living because I hoard myself up with a rapper, and now I'm a washed up 3 and 4 influencer who's gonna come and tell and dictate to everybody how to live their lives. It's coming very soon. Get ready for it. It's gonna be very fun. I think I do need to kind of change it up and make it a little bit fun as well. So I'll be bringing those characters. As you know, I've got a BTEC National Diploma in Performing Arts. I absolutely love, I'm very theatrical naturally. So I'm going to be very happy like going into these characters, and it will give me a chance to heal through comedy and through the creative arts. So I'm really looking forward to it. So get ready, guys. I think it's going to be, I'm going to try and create like a character based off all these washed up 304s turned wogs. So I can't wait to do that one as well. Okay. So this kind of like modesty and purity culture becomes an idol, and they reclaim spiritual practices that build wholeness, embodied prayer, somatic work, and contemplative practices. So when we're looking at like breaking the cycle of all of this, like I call it like performative 304 washed up pick me Christian culture. And this is just when the identity is reduced to, performative role playing actors. So, they start to idolize, certain doctrines. And what you'll notice is, I can guarantee you that whatever church cult Breenie's going to, there's an emphasis on like modesty, on like women, like conducting themselves in a certain way. There's probably most likely that culture, because they're so easily influenced. These gals, them are not leaders, they're followers. And because that was like what was popular back in the day, like you just had to have the confidence as like especially like a BLK woman, because remember around then it was a lot about like BLK magic, like there was a lot of, do you know what I mean, like all of that. Yeah, I'm answering questions in the comments as well. So if it's related, but if you just come up with a rash, are you Christian? What church would you recommend? Oh, you'll just be getting BLCK, because no one's got any time for that, unfortunately, tonight. But if it is a question that is related to the topic and it's going to help or it's going to contribute, then of course ask your questions. But I just, unless you've got religious psychosis and you just want to go into it because you get all, you get that adrenaline rush because of the hyper-religiosity, and you just want to come in and just talk human fecal matter, then I wouldn't suggest it, because it's just going to be given hyper-religiosity, because then you're just going to be getting blah, and so it will just be confirming why it's probably worth just sitting around and probably just listening to the topic, and grasping what we're talking about, and then having that ability to process and ask questions. So let's look at I don't really want to look at these case examples, actually. I don't think it's worth me doing this. I'm going to get on to the second point because that sounds hilarious. Oh, Noah, thanks for joining, my love. I'm just going to get into the second part. Why not? You lot, are you up? Should I continue or should I actually, I think I should go and make a tea and coffee because look, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to do a long one. All right, let me do the intro. If I go and get a tea, and then, because I want to make myself, I'm hoping I've got cheese in there, man. And the bread's still on. It's not gone off. Because I want to go and make a cheese sandwich and a tea and just have a little rollie. Do you know what I mean? Like for the evening and then come back and then do this. What do you reckon, guys? Oh, but I might get tired and go to sleep, innit? What do you think? All right, let me do the intro. And then I'll go and have a break. And then, because on this account, I do need to see Wagwan. I don't want to get too comfortable. So I'll be back. So if I don't have a tutorial on this account, TikTok, I'll just be back on this account. But if I do have a tutorial, then I'll put a video up to show you where I'm going to be. YouTube, same place. Give me about 20 minutes. Insta, same place. Give me about 20 minutes. This is the intro into the part 2. So many church spaces rely on women's labor while preaching a doctrine that reduces women to modesty and submission. That contradiction is not accidental. It's structural, it's strategic, it's historical, and it's political. Women who enforce the modesty rhetoric inside those systems often do so after internalizing long-standing patriarchal narratives and rhetoric, aka indoctrination in church cults, okay? In doing so, they recreate the systems that erased women's voices for centuries. And the centuries of struggle for rights and dignity is erased through them sitting there and speaking human fecal matter, because for lack of knowledge, our people perish. It's not just within the confines of the canon. We need to go outside of that so that we can understand. Where do you think they get commentary Bibles from, babe? Why do you think all of those bits are in there, Breenie and co? Why do you think? Get yourself a good Bible. I'd recommend this one. Get the Life Application Bible, because look, it contextualizes it in here. But outside of the Bible study, you also need to bring in other things to get a grounded understanding. You guys, it's not just about understanding. It's about understanding, and then overstanding. Yeah, you can't just sit there with absolutely no qualifications. That's why they were talking about China or whatever, that was stopping people from talking about medical advice that's not qualified. And I'm like, yeah. The same with like the social sciences as well, like the sociological. If you're not qualified, don't talk on it. Because baby, I've done a youth and community work degree. I'm not just sitting here because I'm claiming to be a Christian or I was in a church cult and I'm speaking out. Like, I'm sitting here because I can deconstruct and deprogram people, because I have a youth and community work first class degree, specializing in working with gangs, which are high control groups, and fighting systemic injustice in like from a program manager role to, I've done so much over 20 years of experience. And then I have a master's in social work. And I've specialized and worked off the back of the high control groups, but looking at grief, bereavement, and trauma, and how and do you see how this has fit in? It's not only my academia and the accolades that I have from that, but it's also the life experience, you know, surviving gang culture. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, my boyfriend was unalived by the police. Like, there's just no one that can come and chat to me. Like, we haven't seen this before. Do you understand what I'm saying? So these gal them need to know their role. And just do what you're doing, but don't start coming for women of the world, and because you're gonna get what's gonna happen is that they're gonna see that they're not gonna get the engagement, because now it is about followers, but it's not so much about followers, because you can have so many followers but not have a community. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they can't build that, because there's no authenticity. That's why they've got to go down the hyper-religious route, because it comes with the ancient authority. So if tomorrow I was to do a live and it says Bible study on it, and I've got my Bible out and I'm sitting here and I'm talking about the fruits of the Holy Spirit, if I pop up on someone's live, they're going to come into that live and they're going to listen to what I'm talking about, simply merely because I'm holding a Bible and I'm discussing the fruits of the spirit. And because of the ancient authority, immediately I will get people on my live to listen to me because I'm reading from the Bible. That's the ancient authority. That's what makes us DUMB. So now you're opening yourself up to a grey pierce or a PDF, or you don't know the spirit, that magnetic energetic field that you're opening yourself up to. But again, because of the ancient authority, that allows us to accept ABUSE, to be broken down, to be treated like get taken for idiot, to be spoken to like a little 5-year-old. That all comes from the ancient authority. All right. Okay. So that's where a lot of the dysfunctional need that the malignant narcissist has for control, his tyrannical reign and lead of dictatorship, where no one can ask questions because it creates a narcissistic injury. You know, the person who is opinionated and asking questions and maybe even challenging the systems and structures and the doctrine will be seen as disloyal or mad. Thank you, my love. Like, they brand a lot of spiritually gifted people as mad as well because you think differently. And a lot of the time when you're neurodivergent, you just say things as it is, and they don't like people like that. Yeah. And again, I've done a lot of content around this, but there'll be a time and a place where I'll be going into that. Oh, guys, what was I reading? I don't know what I was reading. Okay. So, oh yeah, I know where I was because I'm going to go and make my tea and sandwich. I'm hoping I've got tea and sandwich, like I've got bread, man. Okay. So we're going to be looking at the conceptual core of what internalized misogyny is when I come back after the break. We're going to look at how churches and similar institutions structurally create like the gendered roles, the hierarchical roles. Then we're going to look at role reversal in practice, women as the machine, men as the face. Then we're going to look at why pick-me behavior becomes weaponized modesty. So we see all of those retired pick-me 304s that are making this transition into very weaponized policing modesty, breaking down of other women, etc., because they've hauled themselves out for all that time. And then now they're policing other women and saying you shouldn't wear a bikini, etc., this, that, and the third. Because remember, it's going to be very hyper-religious because they've come from one extreme to another. And my experience is, what do you mean, babe? That's why when you see Brittany Renner, it's very extreme. It's like night and day. Do you know what I mean? So that's why we just need to sit down and watch them. As I said to you, the Sashas, the Brinis, they're going to be married in a year. Do you know what I mean? Like, just in there, like doing up First Lady. It's the same cycle. So I just want gal them where this resonates with them, especially my queens. You know, I don't want you to waste your life like mine, 18 years. I want you lot to get out into the airwaves, man, and bring up the collective consciousness of that generation. Yeah. And then we're going to look at the historical context. We're going to look at the hard, long fight for women's rights. And we are going to explore the timeline and essential facts because we can't understand the hypocrisy without the historical ledger. So we're going to be looking at women's public voices, their rights, and we're going to look at the centuries of women fighting and advocating for women's rights. So we'll look at key moments. I'm going to be looking at a condensed timeline. Oh, hey, Tiffany. Yeah, I'm surviving, girl. And then we're going to look at the undertold layer. So we're going to go into a little bit of intersectional feminism, looking at the BLK women's erasure and the double struggle within religious, like there's where are BLK women represented within the Bible, within the biggest religion in the world? Whenever it's portrayed in art, especially when we look at Renaissance art and whatever, it's only when we look at like certain depictions of the Madonna and whatever. I think within the Orthodox Ethiopian church, there's some depictions, isn't it, of a BLK Jesus. And again, I don't care whether Jesus was yellow, green, whatever. But when we go into these environments where the whitey face is very much held and worshipped, and we've got these uncles that are, you know, internalized IT supremacy and colonize, you know, they colonize our minds, and they really have colonized. They have these. They've internalized IT supremacy and want to be that. And so there's this projection, you know, in the space where BLK women are just ABUSED. You know, a whitey girl can walk in the church cult. There's someone who's been there for 7 years and she'll be given opportunities, be the face of the church cult. There'll be someone who's been there for 10 years. They've never been on any promo. of the church cult promo, but this person comes in, they've been there for 2 weeks and already they're on the promo. So it's things like that. Biblical and textual erasure, how patriarchy rewrote the sacred story. And then we're going to go into how internalized misogyny links throughout history and present hypocrisy throughout the timeline. And then we're going to look at celebrity religion, monetization, and the incentive to moralize. So through the ancient authority that comes with the Bible, you know, and then the influencers already have these, like a big social media follower. So it's just that transition. Do you know what I mean? And then they get all the remix insecure Christians coming on and lapping it up. So then we're going to look at the rhythm of betrayal, what this does to social modesty, because they are betraying us. That's what pick-me's do. They will betray you, thing you in your back, all for male validation and the breenies and whatever. That's what it is. It's a betrayal. She's come on here and she's sold out. Do you get what I'm saying? And all the women that are healing and trying to, you know, it's taken centuries for us to fight for our rights. And then we've just got these DUMB 304s that are they're just 304 in themselves. Like they're religious 304s, man. The righteous rage and why this anger and why my anger is valid. And then we're going to get into lines to call out hypocrisy. And then we're going to look at just historical names and references throughout time. And then we'll do a closing. So I'll be back with that. Give me about, what time is it? 10? Because I slept quite a lot in the day. I think give me about 20 minutes to half an hour. If you want to come back, come back. Even if there's 2 people on here, I'll do the live. Okay, so YouTube, are you guys going to come back? Let me know yay or nay. Because if you lot are tired and you're not going to come back, I'll just go to sleep then. I'll just take a little sleeping tab chair. Oh, yeah. Oh, will you come back? Okay. YouTube, someone said, yeah. Oh, okay. SJ. All right. All right. You lot are feeling it. Ooh, Monique said she's waiting, girl. Oh, Monique, I love you. All right, I'll be back. Let me go and make my toast then. I'm going to just grab something to just have a little snack and then I'll be back. All right. I love you so much, guys. Honestly, seriously, like you lot, honestly, like I'll quickly share this. Like there was, they said dropping gems. Oh, thank you. Read My Lipstick came on earlier, yeah. And she was like going in. Like you lot, just quickly, you lot should go on my YouTube, yeah, and forward it to the part where you hear the live guests come on. Yeah, on my latest YouTube live. Just forward it. I think it might be like half hour in or something. Hey, Elites. And she is dropping some gems. I'm going to do some content with it, just her speaking. Yeah. And she's going into so much. And it was such a blessing because she was saying like, that the Hey Queen, the information that I'm putting out has helped her to like deconstruct and deprogram and go down the like divine femme route and look into like the hidden lost gospels of Mary Madder. It was so encouraging. Guys, I walk outside. I went to go and get my McDonald's and my bumper clock car's clamped. My car's clamped. Can you imagine? Just 450 like that. So now I need to unclamp the car, yeah. But do you know how I saw it, guys? I can't unclamp the car until Tuesday, okay? And how I saw it was after hearing her, I saw this as, I can see this as a glass half full or half empty. Yeah. So how am I going to look at this? I'm going to look at this like, because I can't function without my car, innit? I'm disabled. So I've got mobility issues. So I need my car to get around. I live in the middle of nowhere. I need to get my kids to school. Do you understand what I'm saying? So usually, and I'm seeing the growth because before I would have just broken down. I'm figuring it out. And I'm seeing it as for 3 days, I can't move. Why am I going to try and force that and change that? I can't move for 3 days. So I'm going to have this shut in. I'm going to ground myself. I haven't really been on the lives as much. So it's kind of like, I think there might be people who are maybe listening to me silently. But if you're listening to me silently, you need to let me know that you're listening to me silently, guys. Because if I don't know that you're listening on the FYP, I'll think, oh, the survivors are deconstructing and deprogramming. It's fine. But obviously, I feel like God has brought me to a point where I'm going to be doing lives more, but I'm going to be spending time on writing and I think vlogging that experience as I go along these 3 days, which will be the foundations of writing this book. So anyway, I'm just yabbing. Let me go. But I love y'all. So I was just sharing that to say, like, change your perspective. Look at the glass half full or half empty. Yeah. But try and look at it like it's half full and not half empty. I know. It was a ticket. You know how they just give out tickets like water? And it was a ticket. I had emailed them, but I think I missed the email that they sent back. And they took it to court and whatever. I didn't even know that this had happened. And so it's just blown up into this big, yeah. right before Christmas, and I've got so much stuff to pay for as well. There's so much things that I got to pay for. It's just crazy. But you know, it happens. These things happen, guys, and you know, we just got to pick ourselves back up and just do what needs to be done. You know, so if you're experiencing things that are going on, and then I've got this stupid bitch put in, you're too broke to not be visible. May God do, you see that Hayley Melinda? Oh, watch her very God. You see the wrath of God is going to come upon that woman. Remember, I told you, when you start to see things falling apart in that woman's life, like just one after another, and it's not about money. It's not about money, because it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than a needle in a haystack or whatever. So Minakir, the currency is, it's not about money, baby. It's not about money, baby. So it's about in like the internal happiness. Like, do you really love yourself? Are you really happy? Like, do you really enjoy schmegs with your husband? Like, are you attracted to the opposite schmegs? Like, is it that for you? Let me go, guys. Let me go. I'll be back, because you know what I get like. And then if I've got a tutorial on there, then I won't be able to come back on the live. So it's not wisdom. Let me go. Bye, Insta. Love y'all. I'll be back in half an hour. Give me about 30 minutes. What time is it? Yeah, I'll be back at 10:30. That's the time I'm going to be coming back, yeah? But Instagram locked off my live. I'm not sure why they did. All right, YouTube, let me go. Love you. I'll be back in 30 minutes.